Welcome back to the Aces Let's Do It podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Archer, and this is the Aces Let's Do It podcast. This week, we're going to start off by talking about the NFL. Then we're going to move over to the NHL, talk about the past draft that just happened today and yesterday. Go over the first round on some picks later in the draft. Talk about the NBA Finals following that. And then we'll end things with the MLB playoffs. A lot of things have happened in the last week, and we're going to cover it. So this one might be a little bit longer than per se last week's. Last week's was a little short, so to make up for it, this one might run a little long. So let's get right into it. Week 4 of the NFL, we learned a lot of things. Number one, I don't think Nick Foles is the answer for the Bears. Everyone thought that, changing to Nick Foles for Mitch is really going to help this offense, really grow. They do have some playmakers, David Montgomery, Tariq Cohen, Anthony Miller, AR. They have all these weapons, but we didn't see it happen. Now, whose fault is that? Is it all on Nick Foles? No, I give him a pass. Week 1 with the starters. We'll have to see what he does next week against the Tampa Bay Bucks. That is a pretty tough defense. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely not the worst. It's a very underrated group that Bruce Arians has, so we'll see what happens with that. I just chalk it up to the tackles being average. Charles Leno, I think, is he's not even top 15 in terms of production. I mean, he's a decent tackle. He's a nice stopgap, but not a guy you can, that you can count on to be a franchise tackle. He's no David Bakhtiari. He's no Tyron Smith. Protecting the blind side, that's a pretty big spot. So if this Bears offense wants to move, he's got to be better. Obviously, Foles has got to be better, and the offensive line as a whole needs to be better. They have some interior pieces. I actually like Cody Whitehair. I think he's a very underrated center. James Daniels, he's a young player from Iowa. I think this is his third year, so he should be acclimated to Nagy's offense. And, they do have some talent on offense, so they should be able to put up more than, how many points they're putting up a game. So look forward to them actually improving. So that was the big news, really, that I took away from. I mean, I'm based in Chicago, so I hear a lot of Bears news. So, I just wanted to start off this segment with that. But let's get back into the other games. The Thursday night game, Broncos, Jets. Sam Darnold took a pretty nasty hit. He's got to be better, man. He's not playing this week. Joe Flacco stepping in, but Sam Darnold's got to be better. I know that there's a lot of criticism coming out of Jets camp. Adam Gase, I don't think is the guy. I'm really surprised that he wasn't fired. But Sam Darnold's got to play better. He's got to know when to throw the ball away and avoid sacks like the way he did. He got slammed on his shoulder, and it don't look good. He's got to be better. Le'Veon Bell's coming back soon, so they'll have that weapon. But they just need to get, playmakers on offense. They don't have a really good tight end. You can say Herndon is okay, but they don't have a true number one wide receiver that Sam can count on. And their defense isn't much better anyways. Quinnen Williams is getting a lot of criticism, but I don't think he deserves any of it. He's a very good player, but when the rest of your defense isn't very good, it's kind of hard to be a very big impact from that interior defensive lineman spot. It's going to be a tough year for the Jets. Maybe it's tank for Trevor. I don't know. And then let's move on. Carolina and Arizona. Teddy Bridgewater is starting to look like himself. Me being a Packer fan, I've seen Teddy Bridgewater be at his absolute best. I think he's a really average quarterback is what I'll call him. I'm not going to call him a great quarterback, and at times I think he can be really good. But I think at the end of the day, he's just going to be an NFL starter. And that's what you need in this league. Of course, you do need guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, those type of guys who can give you elite production at the quarterback position. But if you have a young defense like Carolina has that's going to grow together, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be the perfect quarterback. I mean, his deal isn't outrageous, and you have all of his cap space. So after his contract is up, all of your playmakers on defense are still going to be young, and they're not going to be wanting a contract until another year. So if there is a type of quarterback that gets like the Brady contract, 2 years, $50 million, I definitely think at the end of the Teddy Bridgewater contract, if they don't want to extend Teddy, they can definitely go out and get a capable quarterback because, this defense has shown both ups and downs, but that's what you get when you draft all defensive players in your rookie class. And Matt Rule is a very good coach. He's changing the culture around. Not to say that Ron Rivera had a bad culture. He's just changing it to mold it into him. I mean, this guy is a proven rebuilder. He took a struggling Temple team, brought them to relevancy. He took a very, very bad Baylor team and then brought them to within reach of the college football playoff. Matt Rule knows how to rebuild teams, and he's definitely got a good group of guys with him right now. But on the flip side, Cliff Kingsbury, we have now seen that Kyler Murray is having sophomore slumps. I mean, he lit it up for the first couple of weeks, but now he's starting to regress. Now, is that on the play calling, or is that on potentially him not getting enough protection from his offensive line? It could be a mixture of both. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is an offensive-minded coach all the way. They do have playmakers on defense, but if this team wants to go where they want to go, ultimately to the playoffs, Kyler's going to be better and they're going to score more points. It's going to be very tough with the likes of San Francisco and Seattle and LA in their division. So this is going to be one of the best divisions, I think, for the next couple of years. There's a lot of talent in this division. So although Seattle is looking really good this year, do not count out San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo's coming back. And I liked what I saw from C.J. Beathard in the limited time that he was in the game. So maybe he is now quarterback number 2. I mean, it's still rough losing Nick Bosa for as long as he's out. I mean, he's out for the whole year, tearing his ACL after a wonderful rookie season. And that takes a huge blow to your front seven, even because, you traded DeForest Buckner in the offseason. So it's almost like losing 2 of your key contributors on defense in one foul swoop. So this is a very good team. The 49ers, but we're done talking about the Cardinals. We're going to move on. I touched on the Bears. They didn't look very particularly good on offense, but their defense still looked good. I don't think the Colts have a game-breaking offense. I think it's going to be manageable with Phillip Rivers at the helm. But I do think that Indianapolis is looking for a quarterback this year. I know that they do have Jacob Eason, but I would not be surprised if they go after Tanner Morgan from Minnesota, maybe on day 2, pick him up in the 3rd round and just groom him behind if they do try and extend Phillip. This is a very good defense the Colts have, one of the best units in football. Now, they play the Bears, so most defenses are going to look very good against the Bears, but we all know that the Colts have a very good defense, and they're going to be very good for years to come. Moving on to the Bengals, Joe Burrow. He is a top 15 quarterback. That's right, I said it. Even as a rookie, you can definitely tell that Joe Burrow is special. The way he can diagnose the defense and his leadership is what really impresses me. He's a rookie. And 2 years ago, he would have been a 6th-round draft choice. And now here he is, number 1 overall pick, looking like a franchise quarterback and a potential Pro Bowler at the position. I don't think he's a Pro Bowler this year. He hasn't shown enough yet, but there are definitely signs to say that the Bengals did not miss. Now, the only way he's going to be stay at this level is if they get an offensive line behind him. He is getting killed out there. I mean, 2 weeks ago when he got murdered by the Eagles, if you haven't taken a look at that hit, I highly suggest it. I've been around for a long time, and it is one of the biggest hits I have seen. I mean, I saw Pat Willie lay out plenty of guys, but this is one that is for the ages. And, props to Joe Burrow. Got up, dusted off his shoulder pads, and went right back to work. This kid's got game. Defense still needs work. I think maybe they go defense in the 1st round in this next draft, maybe on the back end or maybe inside. They do have playmakers on offense. Joe Mixon's looking really good. I really like T. Higgins. I thought his tape from Clemson was one of the best wide receivers in the class. Definitely a top 15 pick in my mind. The fact that he slid to the 2nd round is amazing. I liked him even more than Jalen Reagor. I thought Philly missed when they took him instead of Justin Jefferson, who is, and Justin Jefferson is looking really good, and Rieger's on IR, so we can see how that happened. Moving over to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I talked about that I know of James Robinson. I played against him in high school, so I knew he was going to be a dog in the NFL. Gardner Minshew had a bounce back week. He did throw an interception this game, but I think he threw for over 300 yards. So Minshew Mania is still alive and kicking. Is he a franchise quarterback? No, I think he is in the same boat as Teddy Bridgewater, can be a very capable starter, but I do not think that he is a franchise quarterback. Now, I'm sure when Tom Brady came out and he had his first year in the NFL, people said that about him, and even his second year. So we'll have to see what Gardner does. I do think he does have that, that work ethic. He does remind a lot of people of Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, but I think this kid just has something. So I would not be surprised if he becomes a top 10 quarterback in this league. But if I'm a bet man, I am saying he's anywhere from number 11 to number 16 in this league in terms of passer rating. But Bengals won the game 33-25. Sorry, I'll go back and talk about the scores. Bears lost 19-11 to the Colts. Cardinals lost to the Panthers 31-21. And the Broncos won 37-28. Oh, I forgot talking about the Broncos, so I'll talk about them real quick. Brett Rippon is a career backup. We know this. Jerry Jeudy looked really good. I think that's his breakout game. And whoever starts at quarterback for the Broncos will be looking Judy's way a lot. Melvin Gordon is looking like his old self. I think he's found a really nice home in Denver. Garrett Bowles is being a very good tackle. He grades out as one of the best in the league, so it's very nice to see a guy who has gone through as much as he did. I mean, he was 26 when he was drafted, but he had, if you check on his story, I highly recommend it. It's a very good one to watch. But I love seeing guys who are drafted in the first round succeed. There's a reason why they drafted him. Now, not every spot is good for everybody, but Garrett Bowles is definitely filling out in his potential. Now, let's talk about the shootout of the week. Cleveland and Dallas. Oh my goodness, can Dallas put up some points? They put up 30 plus in the last 3 weeks. I've never been the biggest Dak supporter during his career, but he is definitely a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he's somewhere around 8, 7. I wouldn't call him top 5, but he's definitely in the upper echelon of, in the top 30%. He's very good. Ezekiel Elliott is a top 4 running back in this league. Depends on what week he's playing. Some weeks he looks absolutely unstoppable, and then other weeks he looks, like an average back. I'm not going to say he's not a great back, because he really is. I mean, he contributes in the passing game. He contributes in the passing game in terms of blocking. I mean, he's a very underrated pass blocker, I believe. And we all know what he can do in between the tackles and so forth and so on. But it's this defense that is really surprising. Aldon Smith is having a redemption year. It's really good to see that he's finally got his head on straight, and I wish him nothing but the best because, boy, can he turn it on. He's second in the league in sacks, so I think he has 4. So he's number 2 behind Zadarius Smith, who we'll talk about later. So it's very nice to see him. Everson Griffin needs to step up. I mean, he was a beast in Minnesota, but he's not putting it together here in Dallas. DeMarcus Lawrence needs to be better. Trayvon Diggs, I think that's his name, is a very talented corner, but he definitely has his ups and downs, like most corners. So if I'm a Cowboy fan, I would not be panicking about Diggs. He's going to be very good. He's physical at the line of scrimmage, and he's got closing speed. Stefanski has the Browns going in the right direction. Freddie Kitchens was hired to be fired. I don't think he was the long-term head coach of this team, and they were just getting somebody besides Hugh Jackson to run the team. I love the way they play football. Do not put the game on Baker's chest for 4.5 or 3.5 quarters. You have talented running backs. Now it's unfortunate what happened to Chubb. Luckily, it's only a knee sprain, so he'll be back soon. But D'Ernest Johnson, he comes out of nowhere and leads the team in rushing this week. Kareem Hunt's very good. So they have playmakers. So even without Chubb, I think they're going to still run the ball effectively. In this defense, I mean, they have Myles Garrett and a few other key contributors like Denzel Ward on defense. So I think the Browns may win this the AFC North. The Baltimore passing game doesn't look as sharp as it did last year. I think teams are starting to play the run more heavily against Baltimore. So when they are forced in those 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 situations, Lamar is having a very tough time reading the field. And I predicted that going into the year. I thought that Lamar Jackson was going to have, a good year, but I didn't think he was going to have the year that he had last year. NFL defenses are just too smart to let somebody do that again. Moving on to the Saints-Lions game. Lions built a lot of momentum last week. They come out, win their first game in almost a calendar year, and then they come out this week, and I think they were up 14 points on the Saints, and then they just give up a whole bunch of points to be unanswered. Matt Patricia, sorry, man, you're a great defensive coordinator in New England, but I think his time here in Detroit is over. He's a defensive-minded head coach, but yet his team can't play defense. It was very nice to see that Matt Stafford got his number one weapon back in Kenny Golladay, and he made some key catches and scored a couple. I think was it two? Either 1 or 2 touchdowns. I know he got in the end zone. But Matt Patricia needs to leave. He's not the guy. And until then, this team's going to be in purgatory like they have been since, was it 2014 when they made the playoffs? So if I'm a Lions fan, thank God Jeff Okudah looks good and we have a nice stable at running back. And Matt Stafford is, I think, going to stay around for the long haul. And then on the flip side of that, let's talk about the Saints. Drew Brees has gotten a lot of criticism for his arm strength not being where it used to be. But I think this is a good game to get back on their feet. They struggle against Green Bay, and now they come out here against the Lions, and they were down 14 points, but then they stormed back. Drew Brees, we all know, is a future Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a guy who's going to give you nothing but his best efforts game in and game out, and he's a leader by example. He knows that he's not been as good as he should, and he puts it all on himself, and this week he definitely showed why he's a future Hall of Famer. Vikings-Texans. Texans made big news firing GM and head coach Bill O'Brien. Now, it comes as a surprise because they were in the same situation last year when they started out 0-3 and came back and went to the playoffs. But I don't completely understand it. I mean, he's done nothing but win here. Now you can say that maybe he shouldn't be the general manager. I definitely agree with that. The DeAndre Hopkins trade is eye-opening to me. I don't... whatever. And I'm sure Houston fans are with me on that. But I think it's time for a change of culture. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. I mean, Houston has good players, Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt. I mean, 2 of the best players at the position, especially J.J. Watt, who is a future Hall of Famer. And, Romeo Crennel coming over, or not coming over, but taking over. I don't know if this is a playoff team because they're already down 0-4. It's pretty tough. Now, luckily, the teams in their division don't look particularly great. We all know that Tennessee's having trouble with COVID, so we don't know what their long-term plans are going to be for that. And Jacksonville's not the greatest team, so it's just really them and Indianapolis, I believe. But Indianapolis is 3-1. It's going to be a very tough hole to dig out of. And speaking of tough holes to dig out of, Minnesota, they're 1-3. The Bears are 3-1, and the Packers are 4-0. I don't want to see, Mike Zimmer fired. I think he's a really good head coach, and he's the right man for this team. So, digging themselves out of this hole is going to be very tough. But I think they can do it with the emergence of Justin Jefferson in the hole that was vacated when they traded Stephon Diggs to the Buffalo Bills. I think Justin Jefferson's going to be a very good player. And they have Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins straight up needs to be better. And he was better in this game, and they won. So the formula for the Vikings, I believe, is, do not try and give up 30 points a game. If you can limit your opponents to 23, 24 points a game, I do believe this offense can score about 28 a game. They definitely have the potential. And we know a Mike Zimmer coach defense is going to have games where they only give up 10, 13 points. So this offense definitely has the potential to score more than 20 points. So I know that was a little redundant, but Mike Zimmer, he's a very good head coach. Moving on. Seattle versus Dolphins. Nothing too much to talk about here. We all know that Russ is cooking, and Dolphins, they have a lot of talent on defense, and I love the way they play. They play hard, they run to the football, and they just don't give up. And that, to me, is the start of something special. Now, in my personal opinion, I would not start Tua until about week 12, week 13, depending on where your team is at in the standings. If they continue this trend of, just not being able to put it all together, and by week 12, if they are, somewhere in the realm of 4-8, 4-7, definitely throw Tua in there when you definitely are in the playoffs. Don't throw him in now because, depending on how long Cam Newton is out, the second place in the division is wide open, especially with the Jets being inadequate as they are. I mean, we all know they're not a very good football team. So I really don't have too much to say about that. They lost 31-23. Fitzmagic is Fitzmagic. We know what we get. You're gonna get really good games and you get really bad games. But I'm a Dolphins fan. I am very excited for the future. Moving on. Tampa Bay and Los Angeles Chargers. Tampa Bay won 38-31. Tom Brady is starting to look like his old self. He tossed 5 touchdown passes in this game. I chalk that up to Bruce Arians starting to figure out what he needs to do with a Tom Brady. I mean, let's be honest. Bruce Arians has not had a Hall of Fame quarterback, and I don't know how long. I mean, I didn't have it with Jameis. He didn't, you could say that maybe Carson Palmer, but, I doubt it. So, he hasn't had that true, Hall of Fame quarterback. And now he does. And he's got weapons on offense. He's got a very good defense. So if Tampa Bay keeps playing like this, they're definitely going to win the South. No question. And they're going to be very good. Depending on how long Brady can play at this level and how long he stays in Tampa Bay, they're going to be as good as any team in the league. And they have a tough test next week against Green Bay. On the other side, Justin Herbert is looking like a franchise quarterback. Yes, he's making rookie mistakes, and he's not doing everything that you would like to see from a starting quarterback. But we're starting to understand that maybe the scouts weren't completely right. I heard a lot of things about that he can't dissect a defense. He can't, he doesn't go through his progressions very well. Well, he put up 31 points against one of the better defenses in football. So, is he a Joe Burrow? No. But I definitely think Justin Herbert is on the up and up. And they have a very talented defense as well. So, this year is definitely a year when you start out 1-3 and you have the Chiefs in your division. So you think, okay, maybe we take a step back, reload for next year, and then we come out of the gates running. Following that game was the Ravens and the Washington football team. Ravens came out and won. Ron Rivera made some news. He has benched Dwayne Haskins and is going for the former Carolina Panther and former 5-star prospect Kyle Allen. I don't know what to say about Dwayne. I wasn't too big on him coming out as a redshirt sophomore out of Ohio State. I still think he needed to do some things. Like bulk up. He looked like a really skinny kid out there, and I didn't know if he could go up against, 315-pound defensive linemen coming after him every week. Now, they do have a somewhat okay offensive line, but I don't know, that they were just going up against a better football team and they lost 31-17. The absence of a somewhat of a really good running game, I think, is really hurting Dwayne. He had that at Ohio State, but he doesn't have that here. And outside of Terry McLaurin, does he really have playmakers? You can't put it all on Dwayne, right? But there's definitely some things that he needs to work on if he wants to be a starting quarterback in this league. On the flip side, though, their defense looks really good. Maybe not really good as but it's promising. They have a very good front seven. They have some playmakers in the middle of the field. They still have Landon Collins, and he is a top 10 safety in the league. So this unit can be very good. And Ron Rivera is a very good head coach. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. We're all rooting for him. He's a great guy. So I'm really hoping he gets through this cancer treatment A-OK and everything comes out, because that guy, if you want a role model, that's the guy you need to look at. He does everything right. Take a look at what was going on with this football team. I'm going to go too deep into it, but there was a lot of problems within the organization, and since Ron has come in, he has just absolutely put everything to rest, and he is turning this team around. And I think they can be a very capable team within the next few years with him at the helm. Moving on, Rams, Giants, 17-9. Rams take the victory. Kudos to the Giants for only letting this team score under 20 points. I think that is a very encouraging sign for Joe Judge's team. If you didn't catch it, there was a very interesting brawl at the end of the game. I'm not going to go into it, but if you would like to, just know that there was some family feuds going on at the end of the game. You don't see that too often in the NFL. I don't have really too much to talk about. The Giants lost Saquon, and Daniel Jones has had his ups and downs. There are some encouraging signs, but there's a lot of question marks. And same with the Rams. How can you go up against one of the worst teams in the NFL and only score 20 points? They have to reevaluate themselves. Moving on, Bills Raiders, one of the better games of the week, and went right down to the wire. Raiders, we know, can play good offense, but their defense is kind of questionable. John Gruden's going to turn that ship around. They have Jonathan Abram. They are missing that pass rusher, and if only there was a pass rusher they could have, and be competent. Khalil Mack, yes, is a very good player. Should they have traded him? I don't know. Depends on who you ask. They did get a lot of quality players for him. It's not like they missed on all the draft picks. So when it's all said and done, I think you can say that the trade he made is going to turn out good for both sides. But they are missing that number one pass rusher, and definitely look for them in either free agency or through the draft to pick up a very, very good pass rusher. And talking about the Bills now, Josh Allen, I think, makes a case for the MVP. Now, I don't think he's going to win it unless if he continues this pace and, his just keeps balling out every week, throwing for 300 yards and doing the things he's done. But I definitely think he makes a case. For the first 2 years, you can definitely tell that there were sparks and flashes, but then he also had some downfall. But now he looks like one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and he's making a lot of plays. Now, I think the addition of Stephon Diggs is what's really helped him. I said, to my contemporaries, when he was traded, I said, watch out for this Bills offense. Now that they have an established wide receiver who can not only go deep, but can do it in the intermediate game, this could be a very dangerous team, because we know that Josh Allen can drive the ball down the field. He's got one of the better arms in football. So I think this team's going to make a run in the playoffs. They're definitely going to win their division. It's not a very competitive division right now, the East, the AFC East. So just hopefully they can put it together in the playoffs. Eagles 49ers, one of the more entertaining games, I would say. Now, if Jimmy Garoppolo was in this game and Nick Bosa and a few of the other guys that they are missing from injury were playing in this game, no question where the 49ers have won. But kudos to Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz for coming out and playing a very good football team and winning. I know Carson Wentz has had his tribulations through the season, but it's not of a lack of effort. I mean, this guy is going out there every week, and he is running like a madman. He made one of the best plays I've seen all year. I mean, that guy is special. And yes, he's had his ups and downs. I'm not going to say he hasn't. And it was very unfortunate to see that he couldn't be the quarterback when they won the Super Bowl. But there's a lot of talent in Carson Wentz. They just need to surround him with more weapons. They have a tight end. They actually have two tight ends who are very good at what they do. Miles Sanders is very good. They just need that true number one wide receiver, and I think that's what's going to take for them to get to the playoffs. I'm not going to talk about the 49ers too much. We know what they are. They're a very physical team at the point of attack. They have a very good offensive line. They have a very good run game. And once everybody comes back from injuries, besides Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas, this team's going to be ready to rock and roll, and they're going to make a run at the NFC Championship game. Now, one of the two Monday night games, Packers-Falcons, again, another game there's not really too much to unfold here outside of the excellent performance from Robert Tonyan, catching 3 touchdown passes from that bad man, Aaron Rodgers, who, and I'm not being biased, definitely should win the MVP. I mean, look what he's done with a bottom 5 wide receiver core. I mean, Allen Lazard is a number 4 wide receiver at the best. I mean, that's it. I'm not going to talk about Devontae because we know Devontae is top 5 wide receiver in this league. But just that alone should get Aaron Rodgers the MVP. I mean, the man has thrown over 60 touchdown passes the last 3 years and less than 10 interceptions in 3 or 2.5 seasons. Those are video game numbers that Aaron Rodgers is putting out every week. So, my pick for MVP. Dan Quinn needs to be fired. It's done. Supposed defensive head coach, and outside of that 1 year they had, where Vic Beasley had like 15 sacks, their defense has not been particularly good. Do I have to mention that they've given up 3 leads in the last 3 years that they should have won? The Super Bowl and the last 2 weeks, but going into this Packer game? I don't know what to say about the Falcons. I love Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, but they are getting disrespected by this franchise. So they need a new face, maybe a new offensive coordinator, but Dan Quinn needs to be relieved of his duties immediately. Then the final game of the week, Patriots Chiefs. The score doesn't tell how good of a game this was. Chiefs won 26-10. But I think this was a very competitive game for 3.5 quarters. Jared Stidham did throw 2 interceptions, one of which I do not blame on him at all. Julian Edelman should have caught the ball. That was just an unexcusable drop that turned into a pick 6. So you take away those 7 points, it's a 10-19 game. And then towards the end of the game, I think maybe the second to last drive or the last drive, he made a throw kind of near the end zone. It was picked off. I mean, he's just trying to make something happen. He did good. His first completed pass was a touchdown, so that was pretty cool. But I don't know. With the absence of Cam, this offense can move the ball all that well. Credit to Steve Spagnuolo for shutting down the run game for most of the game. That Kansas City defense at the beginning of last year wasn't very good, and now they're playing like a cohesive unit. And even without Chris Jones, they were able to dominate the line of scrimmage. So we know that this Chiefs team is one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL right now. So it's not surprising to see they came out and won by 16 points against one of the better defenses in the league. Bill Belichick, if there's one thing that he knows how to do, it's coach. And, his team's in 2-2. Patriots fans, don't panic. I know that, COVID has hit Cam Newton and a few of your key players. But if I've ever learned anything in my 20 years, it's to never count out Bill Belichick. Because the moment you do, he comes back and bites you right in the rear end. So, Patriots fans, don't worry. You guys are going to be fine. You've got the greatest coach of all time, coaching your football team and general managing. People forget that he's also the general manager. And I believe that his coaching career is at the end of the line, but his executive career is just beginning. Once Bill decides to hang it up as a coach, he's going to be a very, very good executive. I'm talking Hall of Fame executive. I don't know if it's ever been done before, but if there has never been a head coach to enter the Hall of Fame and then go into an executive career and go into the Hall of Fame, it's definitely Bill Belichick. So Patriots fans would not worry. That was a lot of information from the NFL right there. It's going to make up for it. There's not a whole lot going on in the other sports. We're going to move right on to the NHL Draft. We all knew it. Alexis Lafreniere going number 1 overall to the Rangers. Kid's a stud. He's going to be very good for a long time. Los Angeles then goes up and gets up Quentin Byfield, a very good center. The Ottawa Senators traded up and took Tim Stützle, a left-wing center from Manheim. He's very good. There's a lot of good players that got taken in the front end of this draft. Detroit Lions came away with Lucas Raymond, left-winger. Ottawa Senators came back and got Jake Sanderson, D-man. So a very interesting top 5. I think a goalie went pretty early. Yeah, in Nashville. They picked up Yaroslav Askarov, goalie from the KHL. I think he's one of the highest selected goalies in the last 10 years, I think. So, Nashville definitely sees something in him. Maybe he can be the next, what's the name of their goalie? Oh, I can't think of it. It's just right on the tip of my tongue. Anyways, my Blackhawks came away with Lucas Reichel, left winger from Berlin. He looks like a pretty decent player. They need some more talent in the system. They traded away Yuri Hackett. Man, I can't say his name. Yuri. I'm just gonna give up. Jokiharju, that's his name. Jokiharju. They gave him up for Nylander, and he's actually a pretty good player. So, let's hope my Lucas Reichel, for my sake, turns out to be a good player. But yeah, NHL draft just ended today, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and it started yesterday. I like watching drafts. I don't know why. I'm one of those guys. I enjoy watching drafts that drown on for 3 hours. Maybe that's just a sports fan to me. But that's all with the NHL. The only other news I have is Gary Bettman. He's eyeing January 1st, I think, on New Year's for the new season. So no dates have been set for camp and preseason, but that's what I heard at least. And I'm excited. I'm excited to watch hockey again. Maybe a full 180 or 82 in a row, hopefully. But moving on to basketball, the Lakers are up 3-1. Man, I don't know if Miami has the firepower to get it done. Game 5 is on Friday. I think they're going to take it, the Lakers. As much as I love me some Jimmy G and the Heat as a whole, I do believe that the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be winning the NBA Finals. They're just so much more talented. We know that LeBron is a top 10 player of all time. Anthony Davis is one of the best players the last 10 years. And they do have a lot of role players on this team. So I wasn't on the hype train for the Lakers. I'm not a big fan of just going out and signing anybody you want or trading for everybody you want. I kind of like what Pat Riley did. They got his star, but most of those guys like Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson, they're drafted and developed players. That's the way I like teams to be built, and they're just a scrappy team, the Miami Heat. So I was really rooting for them to get this thing done, but I think at the end of the day, Los Angeles is just so much better. especially when both LeBron and AD are out on the court, they're almost unstoppable. So if I'm betting, I'm going with Los Angeles. I know I've stated it like 5 times, but that's just who I'm going with. All right, moving on to our final segment, MLB. My Cubs got kicked out in the first round. Don't really want to talk about it a whole lot. All I know is there are major changes coming. Theo Epstein had alluded to it, and I think that Jed Hoyer, general manager, is going to be taking his spot, and they're going to be looking for a new general manager. So that's all I'm going to talk about it, because whenever I talk about it, it just frustrates me. The Chicago White Sox were also kicked out in the first 3 games from Oakland. Oakland now is down 2-1 to Houston, who won over the Twins. They swept them in the 2-game series. Tampa Bay swept the Blue Jays. The Yankees swept the Indians. A lot of sweeps going on. Los Angeles swept Milwaukee. San Diego pulled out a tough win against St. Louis after being down. What were they down? 9-2? And then they came back and hit all those home runs. In Atlanta, beat up on Cincinnati, not even allowing a run. So that was in the wild card series. Now Los Angeles leads 1-0 over the Padres. Atlanta, and I'm talking about series, that is. Atlanta leads 2-0 over Miami. Tampa Bay is 2-1 on the Yankees, so they're one step closer to beating the big bad Empire. And Houston is up 2-1 over the Oakland Athletics. So, here are my predictions for the final 4 teams. I'm going with Tampa Bay. They don't have elite stars, but they do have a very good team, and they are very good at what they do. I see holes in this Yankees pitching staff. I mean, Garrett Cole was slapped for 3 runs. When was the last time that happened? So Tampa Bay can definitely score points. Not points. What am I talking about? Runs. So they're going to be my pick to beat the Yankees. And I don't know, man. I got a feeling that Oakland's going to come back and win against Houston. If Houston does win this game, however, they should give Dusty Baker the Coach of the Year or Manager of the Year award right now. With what he's had to deal with and all of the media attention Houston got during the spring training and all through the pandemic, he definitely deserves recognition. But I do believe that Oakland will come back and win. So my pick for the ALCS, Tampa Bay and Oakland. Going to the National League, my pick is the Dodgers. San Diego made big moves at the trade deadline, but I think at the end of the day, Los Angeles is just too talented, and their pitching staff is unbelievable. I mean, just with Walker Buehler alone, he makes a case for one of the best pitchers, period, in baseball. I don't care what league. He's very underrated, I believe. And then in the other games, Atlanta. Miami looked really good against the Cubs, but that's not saying a whole lot. I think they are a team that has a lot of good players, but not a lot. I don't think they have a very good player. I mean, Sandy Alcantara is a very good pitcher. Jordan Yamamoto is very good. And, Kinsler has had a somewhat of a career resurgence. But, and so is Aguilar. But I think Atlanta's going to get it done. So the picks for the NLCS, the Dodgers, and the Atlanta Braves. Now, who's going to the World Series, in my opinion? Tampa Bay. Again, they just don't have holes. Their pitching staff, very good. Their lineup, 1-9, good. Bullpen, good. Manager, good. General manager, good. I mean, they check all the boxes. And although Billy Beane has a very good squad in Oakland, I just believe that Cash's club is just so much better. I mean, Tyler Glasnow he throws gas. So with him alone, I think he can dominate a lineup 1-9. Then on the National League, I'm gonna go with the Atlanta Braves. I know that I said that Los Angeles is very good, but I have a sneaking suspicion that the combination of Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna, and Freddie Freeman are just going to come alive in the NLCS and push their team into the World Series. You just look at this team, and M. Duvall has come back and looked like an all-star. Marcell Ozuna is just gone off. I mean, I knew he was a good player, seeing all his games against the Cubs when he was with St. Louis. I didn't expect this. Where'd this come from? I'm pretty sure, those guys over in St. Louis are like, hey, Marcel, why didn't you do this for us? Not to say that, he was a good player, but he wasn't putting up these numbers. But he's just had a career resurgence. And Dansby Swanson has had a very under-the-radar, very good year. I like the Braves lineup, and I think they can beat Los Angeles. I do think it's going to go the distance, but at the end of the day, I do think Atlanta's going to get it done. Now, for the big prediction here, Tampa Bay versus Atlanta in the World Series. I'm going with Tampa Bay. Again, they don't have holes. When I look at this team, I just don't see any glaring disadvantage. They're hitting good, defense good, pitching staff great. I can't see them not going to win the World Series. Atlanta's very good, like I stated, but Tampa Bay, to me, is just the better team. And, I didn't think they were going to be the best team in baseball, but I think they're going to be hoisting up the Commissioner's Trophy, which is not a piece of metal. Thank you very much, Rob Manfred. But I don't know. Tampa Bay, to me, is just a team where you can't love them, right? Like a Billy Bean said in Moneyball, what's the line? Isn't baseball romantic or something like that? And it's a Cinderella story. They don't have a lot of cap space, but somehow, some way, they've constructed a team of all-stars that aren't the best players at the position, and I do believe they're going to be winning the World Series. That has been week 4 of the Aces Let's Do It podcast. I'm having a blast doing these. It's one of my highlights of my week. Not to say that I don't have, a life, but I'm having a very fun time making these. I hope you have a great time listening to them. And if you have any suggestions, send me a comment down in the comment section. Make sure you subscribe and like. Make sure you go check out the Instagram page at Aces Let's Do It over on Instagram for over there we're posting stuff about when a podcast is coming out, and like I did a couple weeks ago when the Bulls hired Billy Donovan, made a post. We made a post over on the Instagram page saying we're going to talk about it, and I'm looking forward to making more content. I was thinking about making an MLB bracket prediction video, but I just never got around to it. So now that I've had a little more extra time on my hands, I'm going to be trying to make some more content for you guys. So I hope you enjoy. And man, I'm always bad at these outros. But once again, thank you for listening. Leave a like and comment and subscribe. And I've been your host, Dominic Archer. And thanks for listening.